Hello, brothers and sisters of the multiverse, and welcome to the Let's Think This Through. Today I wanna talk about the changing of the mind. It's a leap. It's a leap and it's a choice. But it's also a big decision. To start on the road from meme to reality, from common beliefs to deeper insights. Are you ready to give up the comfort of being of the same thoughts, beliefs, worldviews of the masses? What is it that gives people comfort in masses? It's actually simple, but biologically, it was survival strategies and all that, right? Safer in groups, all of that. But does it still apply in today's world? In today's post-Edward Bernays world? Not by far, not in the long run. And in so many areas, it's just corporate marketing strategies and nudgings in certain directions for profit, not personal growth. People still buy into it because it's convenient to take intellectual shortcuts, short slogans are easier to remember than elaborate explanations with nuances. You understand all of that, right? At least, the levels of understanding, right? And some understand it only cognitively, but didn't integrate it into their day-to-day thinkings and evaluations, and it takes courage, let's say, when you start. Especially young people that are still forming their brains. Like up to the 25th year, let's say, neuroplasticity is still moldable, and that's why many marketing agencies target those younger audiences and make products basically of most people. Perfect consumers, be it materialistic things, be it ideas. All is marketable nowadays. All is sellable. question is what you buy and how informed are you about the topics. There's information overload everywhere, and shorts and little digestible specks of things that sound rational, But when you look deeper into it, it's anything but that simple. And that's where most people just tune out and make it easy on themselves. It's easier for them. But there's always the cost of in any type of knowledge, in any type of depth of information, of some misleading parts which accumulate. If you have a little nudge into a certain direction from any topic, be it here biology, be it here chemistry, be it here psychology, and they can sometimes build and seem to work together into the same direction of nudging beliefs and views of certain stuff. And that then sets the premises for other stuff. It's all working together into what we then call worldviews and belief systems and value systems and all of that. Is it worth it? Because as I believe it was John Lennon who said, the more real you get, the more unreal the world gets, right? Very simply said, very profound, and that's poetry. The deeper you look into any topic, the more true research you do, and the more independent sources you have or reach out to get some data that is not presented the way it's presented because of a paycheck. Watch out for that. Any institution, any research facility, where is money involved, you can't rely on unbiased truth. Even if the data is right. the way it's presented might not be, or is not holistic enough, or is not viewed from every angle, or certain interdynamics are overlooked. It all plays a role. Consciously, half-consciously, subconsciously, into how we buy into something. No one is totally unsusceptible to those psycho tricks. And we are often even rewarded not to think too much. Mostly socially, because of the agreement with the group again. Right? And if you ever tried in a group with a certain view of certain things, to say that might not be, you already see the eyebrows and the looks, right? What do you mean? Don't burst my bubble. Careful now. It's scary. It's scary for most people because they think, and they're right, that something will break. But what breaks is just an illusion of knowledge. Just an illusion of being right. Have you ever been wrong and proven wrong? And afterwards being glad that you realized and accepted that you were wrong, because now you know better. The first is a shock. The first epiphany is always a shock. And then people drift back into rationalizing former beliefs instead of moving forward and looking deeper into it and then make up their minds about something. If someone is so secure in their beliefs, how is it rational to be afraid to look deeper into it? If they know that they're right, because nothing there would prove them wrong. Yes, there's always this rationalization, why waste my time? How about that? Would you rather be wrong all your life for not spending an hour or two to look deeper into stuff and to confirm or debunk something. Only if you truly research can you be more certain of something, but also accept the possibility that you are not. And the reward is to know better and not to fall into the same traps. But if you're truly researching independently, not in closed feedback loops, but maybe even actively looking into the opposite opinions, just dive into the ice cold water and you'll survive. And the truth will survive if it's the truth. If you really, even if you, whatever it is, and no matter how ridiculous something seems to sound, just spend a few hours. What did you do 2 years ago on April the 17th between 3 and 7 p.m.? I bet 99% of you don't know. Maybe it was spent on watching movies or whatever. Or just scrolling endlessly like a zombie through shorts and reels and whatever. In retrospect, you would never miss that few hours. But researching something to prove or disprove something, some belief, or think through some value, or re-evaluating some trajectories, or whatever it is. It's always time well spent. Always. You won't miss a few hours here and there. Even if it's only 2 or 3 hours a week. If people would only take 2 hours a week, watch themselves for signals where they said something they were truly believing in that moment, that sounded right. Just asking, was it an automatic response? Or did they pause and reflect, think about it? And how much do they really know about that topic? Or did they just respond out of a triggered emotion? If everyone would re-question those moments once a week, every week, some other topic, you wouldn't believe the change throughout only a year, only a few months, because everything is connected. If some truth turns out to be wrong, which is, and most of them are connected to 10 other things, then you start to question also the 10 other things. And you see how the whole map changes over time. And you wouldn't recognize yourself in a few months. Yes, sounds scary, seems scary, it is scary. Until you get used to it and stop caring what other people think, which didn't question those things and never research for themselves what's true or not. How or why should judgments of those people matter to you? You may be thrown out of the group of the same values and beliefs, but are you worse off? Are you therefore worse off? Yes, you can have friends in those groups, or relatives, or colleagues, or whatever. And you can still love them, even though you disagree on this one topic. And that's also a thing, right? Nowadays, it seems for people to respect each other, to love each other, they have to agree on everything. When did this become a thing? Where's the tolerance for each other's different developmental stages or something? If you would extend the love and appreciation and respect to all people, like most of us do with their families. We don't always agree with our parents or our kids or our siblings or whatever, but we can still love them, respect them, and just understand, okay, they're just not there yet or something. Or maybe we figure out we were wrong, whatever it is. That doesn't mean we should be at each other's throats. It goes the same for those groups you want to belong. But sometimes those groups themselves are just bad influence. How much is your worth of belonging? Where is it on the scale of I rather know the truth and not act and talk automatically in a certain way about certain stuff? It sounds like being a puppet. It sounds like being programmed. It sounds like nothing really sovereign. For me at least, it never sounded appealing. Just to belong. Because there's always also those groups who think differently in different way about the same thing. You always have a group. But the more profound your insight in something, the groups get smaller. That's true. They get smaller. But that doesn't make them less right. The reality is deep insight has always smaller groups. It's just because of the, what was it, parallel distribution of intelligence. I mean, the most intelligent people, they're above 125 or whatever. It's the exception. Being in the biggest group possible makes you the most average in worldviews and such. And look at human history. Just look at human history. When was there ever a time where the masses were right? Retrospectively. You have to dig deep and go far. And then you find those small tribes with pretty good value systems. But never masses, never big civilizations or other movements. But it's easier than ever, actually. Because before internet, there was just no way those people can connect because they're scattered all over the planet. But nowadays, you always find a group, whatever you believe in. I bet there is as many as belief systems there are out there. There may be truly a group that believes that the moon is made out of cheese, whatever. The point is, there are also those who not only don't follow the mainstream narratives, but actively avoid them and debunk them and find proof of the opposite. That's not the point on itself. That's still the trap of polarity. That's not good either, but it's a step. If it's part of the process, it's part of the process. But don't stop there. You know? No matter how awake you feel, there's always one more step. And one more. And one more. And one more. Oh, and look, there is one more. One thing is deep insight into one thing, and the other is, of course, the interdynamics of all other things that. And when you come to the metacognition type systems thinking and all of that, it can get overwhelming. That's just not all of us are built for that. There are just some people not how do I say it diplomatically? Just they don't have the capacity. That doesn't make them bad inherently. It's just how it is. We are not all equal. They may be uninformed or only half informed or believed to be very well informed in one area, but not all the correlating ones with that. Pattern recognition, holistic thinking, it's just not something we're all born with, the capabilities of that. And that's okay. You can say it's okay as long as they don't hurt anyone with their level of understanding. True. Yes. But we should rethink approaching them antagonistically. You don't hate your kid for not knowing algebra, you teach it, right? With patience and love and understanding of where they stand. And you meet them there. And you don't meet them there with faking ignorance or something. And this acknowledgement approach is very impactful. If you just try to acknowledge, to see where they stand, where they coming from, and what their level of knowledge of a subject is, it goes a long way. And you lower the defenses, right? And implement just a nudge of little questions of why do you think that is, and stuff like that. Right? It goes a long way over time. But not you're wrong. you create that adversarial scene where no one wins. Just push them further away. We can't rush the progress, the natural learning curve. We can't rush it, but we can slightly accelerate right? With love and care. Seeing beyond the official narratives seems to isolate people, because the groups with the same insight are small. They're not less valuable. Maybe on the contrary. It's like having 1,000 Facebook friends but once you're hanging from a cliff with one hand, none of those 1,000 will risk their life to hang over the cliff to grab your hand, and risk their life to save yours. You know, if you have only one friend who would do this, what's more valuable, right? Everyone has to decide this for themselves. It's something that everyone should be aware of and informed about, and then make the decision for themselves what they value most. But it's an adventure. For some people, it's even thrilling to prove themselves wrong. For some, it's like a game. For some, it's also a pitfall for the ego inflation, of course. There are many pitfalls, spiritual bypasses, all of that stuff. And it's only a matter of time before any bubble bursts. As long as it's a bubble, as long as it's a half-informed but firm belief in something, right? What everyone says in a certain group is not what everyone says, or thinks, or believes, or knows in another group. Our brains can be trained for resilience of judgments of less informed people. Until you just maybe smile and nod, because arguing won't get you anywhere. It's not selectively giving up. It's selectively temporarily giving up. Because when they are ready, they will do the research for themselves. Mostly it's big traumas in life, or losing a job, or losing a life partner, or but sometimes it's also accumulation of small things. Questions like, why does this always happen? Where the questioning and pattern recognition starts and all of that. And there seems to be an invisible force. Let's get a little metaphysical here. When you look at the history of mankind, the broadness of awareness is constantly rising. Slowly but surely. Sometimes too slowly. Sometimes we have to make the same mistake 10 times before we learn. But we learn. Some are very impatient regarding that. I was myself for a long time, but you just can't rush it. You can start with yourself, with those you care about, those who know you're not just repeating some memes, but think for yourself. And the courage to step out of comfort zones and being proven wrong. In the long term, it's never wrong. It can seem harsh, it can seem brutal. All those dark night of the soul's points of progress are painful, but necessary. And what doesn't kill us is a stronger and ultimate. Leaves us also scarred, but stronger. Yeah. It isn't a bad thing. It isn't. It's a little adventurous. in that regard. It's just it even sparks the curiosity of what's behind the next corner. Not fear, curiosity. Because the more times you fall, right? The more times you see that you're wrong, the less you're afraid of being wrong again. And it just starts from a certain point, it just starts to feel good being even on the cusp of, hey, I believed that all my life. But now, hearing this or seeing that, or experiencing this, it seems to be, I wasn't quite there. And it's seen as a chance, not as a problem. Chance to grow. Chance to rethink things. To reevaluate things. And move on with more clarity and determination. In the long run, the end game, it's always a good thing. If you stay strong enough, if you don't move too fast, if you have the resilience against falling back into the old patterns because of some group pressures or something, you're good. You will be good. You will be fine. And it's not about being right. It also is about responsibility and self-respect. Everyone, except the dark tetratypes maybe, has this, or seem to have this intrinsic wish to leave the world a slightly better place than they found it. And to do that, it requires questioning of our paths, of our thoughts and actions and beliefs, and it starts with what we consume every day. If we support extortion on some other parts of the planet, or if we support outsourcing of pollution, or whatever the case, we're just a few clicks away always to get some more information about anything. Responsibility is key. And the price of losing a group doesn't even come close to being able to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day. And not feel ashamed or being selfish, being but that's of course again for everyone to decide for themselves. Love you, brothers and sisters.